The extract I'm going to be talking about is The Training of Mulan, the Woman Warrior. This is a story written by Maxine Hong Kingston, who is a childhood fantasy writer who wrote about the life of Fa Mulan. She was, in the myths, a woman warrior who is, well, a warrior. This talks about how she started training and how she got to, well, her biggest strength and how she learned to be stealthy, strong, and anything about the animals and all their abilities. The story starts by telling us that she was following a bird who led her across the mountains into a place where she met an old couple living in a magical hut. They told her they could help her train and achieve a level of strength with which she could gain the strength to take revenge on the bandits and ramsackers who were attacking her village. The old man started by giving her a choice, telling her that the training would be very, very tough. It wouldn't be an easy task, and that she could go back right now and go back to pulling sweet potatoes and continuing their lives under the threat of the bandits, or she could stay with them and learn to fight them off. The old woman then followed by saying she could take revenge on the bandits and the attackers, and she could eventually be remembered as one of the most dutiful people of the Han. She continued by, well, obviously taking the choice because she is a warrior woman. She has the will to continue and the will to stay determined through the whole training. The whole training took around like 5 years, which is a very long time that you have to take to learn all of the habits of the animals, all of their abilities, and it was not an easy training during all that time. The first thing that they told her to do was to stay completely still to the point where even the animals could mistake her for a place to safeguard their own things. Some squirrels even mistook her for a place to store all their hoardings, and the deer wouldn't run away when she was nearby when they came to drink water. So she learned to be completely stealthy to the point animals didn't get triggered into their natural reactions to other humans that could have been a threat. And thus, well, she learned that. It also mentions that she never saw a three-legged toad, which is, I believe, a myth of the Chinese people, which is usually taken as a good sign of fortune and your money expenses and all of that. The second step of the training was to learn about the whole movements of your whole body. She learned to move her fingers, hands, feet, head, and her entire body in circles. She could perfectly maneuver each part of her body, each tendon of her muscles, each single spot in her body she had complete control over. She learned about the ideograph of humans, the ideograph of the ape, and walking in with her knees bent. After the whole 5 years of training, she had such a perfect control of her own body that she could control the direction her pupils were looking inside of her iris. She could copy owls, she could copy bats, and she could even copy how high some monkeys could jump. She could jump over the hut perfectly fine. She was basically a perfect example of a superhuman. The story ends by telling us how, even with all of her training and all of her determination, she could never fly like a bird, except in her own large, free dreams. So, yeah, the story talks about how, even with all of her superhuman strength, she still cannot refuse her own human nature. She can't just start flying out of nowhere. Yeah, that would be it. Would you please tell me the questions now?
Okay, that's all. Very nice from the script from the text. But let's go to the questions. The first question is, what motivates the old woman to train the girl to be a warrior? My student.
During the text, it tells us that the old woman is keeping her motivated by saying she can avenge her village. She's telling her that she can recapture the whole cultivations that her people have done, all of the crops that have been stolen from them, and that she can gain a great sign of honor from the Han people for her own dutifulness.
Okay. The second question is describe and explain the different stage from the moonlight training.
Okay, so like I was talking, the first stage was to learn to be completely silent and still and not make a singular movement to the point that animals could feel completely safe and be ignored by their own natural senses. She learned to be she learned so that deer would not run away from her when they were drinking water upon seeing her, and that squirrels could mistake her for a place to store all their hoardings.
Very nice definition. Okay.
Wait. Sorry, I forgot. The second stage was to learn the complete control of her own body. Learning the complete control of her own body, she could move every muscle in her tendons, every muscle, every tendon, each and all articulations in her own body. She learned all of that, and she learned to make the ideograph of human and the ideograph of the eight.
Okay, very nice. The 30 questions is how does the old complete use the nature to teach Mulan about fighting?
The old couple teaches Mulan to fight by making them reject their own, making her bypass their own natural senses, and teaching her to be stealthy. They also teach her to take after some animal strengths, like the monkey's jumping power, the bats and the owls, their movement, their eyes, their echolocation, all of that. They take after their own natural things to integrate it into their fighting strength.
Okay. The fourth questions. One the evidence of the text. How does the training contribute to Mulan's believing and sense from the purpose?
Mulan learns about how to go ahead and really exert her own sense of duty to the hand people. She learns to go with the duty of her people to take revenge, to take back what was stolen from them, and her own sense of and her own well-being. Well, she becomes really strong.
Yeah.
Her body is basically superhuman at that point, and there's still some mental limit she has with the whole, I wish I could have been the bird, but she can only hope for that in her own dreams.
Okay, very nice for this question. The final questions for your response is personally I am very no sorry. How the world you react if you had to undergo such and rigorous training program?
Okay, so I believe that if I had to go on something of a similar level to the training that Fa Mulan had to go through in, both of those things, I would just completely shatter mentally, man. I do not believe in myself to really be able to resist such rigorous training for 5 whole years. Like, she took 5 whole years of staying completely still, manipulating every single movement in her muscles, her tendons, being able to move everything in a complete circle. It's just completely insane to me. So yeah, I do not believe I could undergo such a rigorous training. I would completely break mentally. I wouldn't last more than a year in that, and a year is being hopeful too. Yeah.
And very thanks for your time, questions, and the text is very clearly very successful. And yeah, thanks for the time, and see you in the next class.
Thank you very much, teacher. I hope I did well.
Okay.
See you.
See you later. Goodbye.